she has only one playbook.
Under my leadership, my office sued Donald Trump over 100 times. And the basis of all of that was Project 2025. So he cannot distance himself from something that he has attempted to implement when he was president of these United States. And we were successful 70% of the time. We were the firewall, Democratic attorney generals.
Yeah, well, you were really not successful on this one. And you had a judge that should have loved you, right? She didn't like Trump. She wants to help you out, Letitia, and you're just on the wrong side of the law. You got no basis for anything, but you were busy there during the last administration filing hundreds of lawsuits. And then when you had him leave office, you filed more, right? Because you wanted to bankrupt the guy. That was your mission. You politicized everything, and instead of taking care of your city, you just went after Trump. Think of how messed up that is, guys. I mean, and you know what? This was not lost on Pam Bondi. She's been noticing this for some time.
I think in New York, to specifically talk about New York and to talk about Attorney General Letitia James, instead of sitting in a courtroom going after Donald Trump on bogus civil fraud cases, she should be out on the streets of New York with all of law enforcement. She's the chief law enforcement officer in New York. She should be out there condemning this, stopping this, calling for the arrest of these people who are vandalizing police cars. There are cameras all over New York City. They can catch these people. Look what Mayor Giuliani did to clean up New York, Manhattan, when he was mayor.
Okay, but Letitia didn't want to, right? Because all she could do was think about and salivate over going after Trump. And this is the ABC News clip where she was like, I'm going to take his assets. If he doesn't have the money, with $500 million, she wants to charge the guy $500 million for something that is not illegal in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I'm still waiting on the appeals court, for goodness sakes. Court of Appeals, you know them, out of New York. Unbelievable. Judith Vale, who was representing Letitia James, they told her before she even spoke that she had no case. So where are they?
May it please the court, Judith Vale for the New York Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated...
Ms. Vale, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transaction or losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Well, several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
Okay, so she had no case. She had no case. We're still waiting on the Court of Appeals in New York to throw that one out. But Letitia James was going forward with everything she had. She wanted to seize his assets.
4 days after a judge ordered Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud, New York Attorney General Letitia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
That's what she wanted to do, seize his assets. She wanted to go right into Trump Tower and take it over because this is all she had, right? Think of the campaign.
He's called me venomous.
We will fight back to your attempt to bring Trumpism to New York City.
He's called me disgraceful.
Of the fact that they stole the Supreme Court seat. An illegitimate president and an illegitimate member of the United States Supreme Court.
He's called me radical.
Listen, yes. We know he's crazy. Yes. We know he doesn't have a sound mind. Yes. We know he's out of control. Yes.
called me.
Well, now your days are numbered. Letitia James getting a big defeat, along with all the other attorney generals that joined her, as Judge Chutkan rejects calls from these Democrat attorney generals to get a temporary restraining order. She already had said, I really can't rule on this overall in terms of Doge coming in and shutting down all your funding. She's punting on that one. So then they say, okay, can we get a temporary restraining order so at least they're not firing these people, etc.? And she said no. I mean, unbelievable. And Letitia's sitting there going, but wait, they can't turn off our funding? Like, that's New York funding. This is unconstitutional. How can they do this?
Payments to the state of New York and to states all across this nation. It is unacceptable, unconstitutional, ultra-vires. They have exceeded their authority. And so it's important that attorneys general representing our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law.
Okay, but here's the problem. You don't have any backing now from any court. And, I'll tell you, Tish, we should call this segment Trish versus Tish. You don't have a leg to stand on, because here's the evidence. I mean, you're no better than Ilhan Omar, who they're looking to deport. Maybe that's a little bit of a misnomer. We'll talk about that, because Brendan Gill, the congressman from Texas, is all over this with Ilhan Omar, because she's trying to give these seminars and webinars showing people how you can ice out the feds. Letitia James is doing the exact same thing. Okay, the exact same thing, which puts her in violation of federal law. Here she is. New York has laws that protect immigrants and limit cooperation with federal enforcement efforts. Those laws should be followed by law enforcement officials in our state. So she's telling her law enforcement officials to do that. And yet, if they do that, they are directly in violation of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. The federal government's trying to come in and shore up this whole immigration thing. That is what Donald Trump was put in office to do, and he has the authority to do it, courtesy of, one, the Constitution, and second, the Supremacy Clause in the Constitution. Okay, so this is not that hard. This actually isn't a constitutional crisis of any sort. The law is really clear. Letitia just apparently doesn't understand it. I think she went to Harvard Law School. Maybe she skipped her constitutional law class. Here's the thing. Tish, they don't qualify for asylum. All these people that have come into New York that you're handing out $350 checks, the mayor put an end to that, you see, and they're really mad at him about that. And the hotels where you get daily maid service? Come on. $200 million going to a hotel that's actually owned by Pakistan? That would be the Roosevelt Hotel there in Midtown. Look, you have to qualify for asylum, okay? And if you don't qualify for asylum, then guess what? If you came into the country and you overstayed your visa, or if you just came into the country illegally, then you're here illegally. And that would make you in violation of the law, because it's very clear cut. I've talked to you guys about this before, right? These are the qualifications for asylum. This is all spelled out. And unless you're going to change that, Letitia, you don't have a leg to stand on. Like, you have nothing to stand on. And yes, Pam Bondi can cut off all the money, and Treasury can cut off all the money, because you are not following the law. In the U.S., asylum is defined under 8 U.S.C. 1158 and aligns with the 1951 Refugee Convention and the 1967 Protocol. To qualify for asylum, you must be able to prove that you've been persecuted, or you have a fear of persecution, and that you are on protected grounds. In other words, that persecution needs to be based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or you're a member of a particular social group. So you can't just come here because you're seeking a better economic future, as much as some of these people there in New York City, like Tish James, would like to believe. No, it works a whole lot differently than that. You have to actually qualify for the asylum program. Quick shout out to 76 Research, my company, financial research company. I encourage you to check it out. Code word dollar, DOLLAR. Go to 76 Research. We get lots of picks, lots of information. You can subscribe to the 76 Report and get that for $1 a month right now for the first 2 months. Introductory offer. I encourage you to check it out.